You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Orada Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru atışını kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet. Ve
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. Welcome back to our YouTube channel or wherever you're listening, live or on delay. My name is Kaan Bayazit, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host Sinan Schwarting from New York City. Sinan, a disappointing result yesterday, right at the death, I should say. If we don't concede that goal, I think we're sitting here with a very different outlook on things. But we have to be honest, right? That second half, that just wasn't good. That was not acceptable. And maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that this happens now. Because maybe Gio will learn a lesson from this. What do you think?
I don't know what you're talking about, Kaan. You know, yesterday it was a big day of sports. I woke up, I believe the Jets lost. Perhaps that's what you're referring to. But then, you know, the New York Liberty won a big basketball game, going to the finals. The Knicks came back. First preseason game of the year. We won. And as far as I'm aware, that's just about everything that happened yesterday in the world of sports. No, Kaan? Am I forgetting something? Oh yeah, right. That's what we're here for. Right. Football. That's something did happen there. I've already tried to forget, and you pulled me back in. Yeah, it was an interesting day, and we were like, it's funny because I had all these thoughts, mostly negative, and then Kartal today, who's sadly not with us, he's on vacation still. He made the point that we were just 1 minute away from just getting the result of 3 points and not having any of this sort of nonsense to deal with that we have today. If you're going on Twitter or if you're watching the talk shows, there's a lot of stuff being bandied about.
Do you think if we win that, well, obviously if you win that, the blowback is a lot less fierce, but there would still be significant blowback, I think, after that second half. If you come, I think we played a decent first half. I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10, maybe a 6.5 out of 10. I think that's fine for an away game. We had our chances in the first half. We scored a goal. It was through a penalty, but we had chances. They had some chances too, but I think most of them were offside. But then second half, like, we didn't do anything, right? We stopped playing our game. We stopped playing altogether, it felt like. And even if we win this, I still think there would be significant blowback. But it feels now like the blowback is focused mainly on why didn't Simi play, whereas I think that's the wrong
analysis. Right?
It's a problem, but it's not the main problem. I think the main problem yesterday was just the way the team came out of the dressing room, the way the team reacted to, they didn't look enough for a second goal. And this is a game, I think we were warned. I think in the 43rd minute, they scored.
Offside though.
Yeah, it was an offside goal. It was a clear offside in the build-up. But you are warned, right? You are clearly warned that you shouldn't sit on a 1-goal lead in these circumstances. We weren't in control fully. We played a decent enough first half, but they have plenty of quality, which they did not show against Galatasaray a few weeks ago. I watched that game and it felt like I was watching a different team. But yesterday, Maxim had a fantastic game. And Okereke, he missed some big chances, but he caused a lot of problems. Sorescu was decent. yeah, they didn't have a bad game at all, and then they had Mustafa Eskihelac coming off the bench. And, like at the
He was
end
a
of
pain in the ass, actually.
yeah, but in the end of the game, they had 4 or 5 attackers on the pitch, and the way Gio reacted was by putting more defenders on. But
I know, rather than using that as an advantage to.
but
sort of
he didn't react at all to the fact that our midfield had been suffocating, and like he didn't. Yeah, I think he should have crowded the center more, put more people in the middle, rather than putting everything on the back line, because you are just inviting pressure that way if you can't play out anymore. Like the last 15-20 minutes, I felt like we weren't able to play out from the back at all. He took off Ciro in minute 68, and Ciro for me was the best man on the pitch. He was holding on to the ball, he was making right decisions, he was passing it through, finding solutions. Maybe not in the traditional sense of how you expect a striker to be the best man on the pitch, but I think in terms of alleviating pressure, he was good. And he took all those players off. He took Showa Mario off, he took Ciro off, he took Rafa off, he took Mucci off. Like those 4 guys were the guys who were most effective in holding onto the ball. And he took all of those guys off. And at the end of the game, it felt like we only had, I don't want to call them panic footballers left, but like, yeah, I mean, and also the way we give that goal away, it was so frustrating because we were in possession of the ball. All we had to do was play it around for 60 to 90 seconds. And instead of doing that, Masuaku
tried that slick cross and it went out of bounds.
I get what he's trying to do. The pressure is on the left side of the pitch. So what he's trying to do with a cross pass is to alleviate the pressure and open up space. But the problem is that was a very risky ball. Like a cross pass is always a little risky. And if you play that pass, it needs to be perfect. I think he should have just passed it back. They should have passed it around at the back. They should have looked for a solution otherwise.
And also, like if there's any defense for Masuaku, it's that Rashid wasn't sharp yet, or he just entered the match, and so he didn't get to that ball. He might have been able to kind of keep it in bounds otherwise, but
maybe.
I mean, that's still though. I mean, I
don't want to point fingers. I don't think it's we shouldn't blame one person.
And look, another thing too, right? If you really want to talk about a warning, beyond just that moment in the 43rd and the way that they were playing in general. Khan, maybe you have actual numbers on this. When is the last time we got a result in Gaziantep?
In this iteration of Gaziantep, never, I think.
Never. So
points. Only shared the points. And
we've managed a few draws. Yeah, but like our last one.
But that should not be an excuse. Like this is a team you should be beating.
It's not an excuse, but it's just in regards to what you were saying about them, there being a kind of a warning, the idea that you'd be safe with a 1-goal lead, right? Historically, that's just never been the case with Gaziantep at home. They have a pretty good fan base, which we saw, who's going to keep them in the game, until the 90th minute or, the 97th or whatever it might be.
We kept them in the game by not killing it off, of course. And
of course, yeah.
It's
just the confluence of things like that, right? But so you should never take a game like that too casually. I think even when we were dominant in the first half, you got the sense that these guys were playing a little bit casually. Like they were just a little careless in their finishing. They should have had 3 goals by halftime, honestly. And there was just this kind of like...
I don't know if I want to say they were casual, but Gio did highlight...
They were doing these sort of fancy passes and like, instead of going for like, all right, like, find the guy that's more open, get the easy shot, put it in the back of the net. They do like kind of behind the back thing with their leg and like, oh, it didn't come off. It's like, it's all right, we'll get another chance. And like you can't have that mentality, I think. You've got to be clinical when it comes to finishing when you have chances like we did in that first half. And I think we had a surprisingly high XG at the half as well, which even surprised me to some extent because I like you said, there was a few kind of offsides moments. In the second half, our big chance that fell to Rafa, where he got that one-on-one. I mean, I think that might have ended up being offsides too, but It was.
The second half, I think the only real chance we had was the Mustafa Hikimola chance that he skied.
He should have put that away, man. His defender was on the ground. That was bad.
That's I think that is also like I've been saying this since the summer. I don't think that I think we need a second striker. I don't see Mustafa as a viable second striker. And yeah, sure, you can see Semi as that, but Gio has, other than one friendly, and I think he did like 45 minutes. Like, Semi hasn't played a single minute in an official game as a striker under Gio. So I really think that if Ciro doesn't have it in him to play 90 minutes twice a week, which I understand, then we need to have a viable alternative. And Mustafa Hikimola is not a viable alternative. I've said it before. It's not because he scored a goal in the Super Cup that he's ready for this. Is he talented? Yeah, of course he has talent. He has the potential to be a good player, but he's still only 17, and you can tell that he is not ready for this. He is not composed. He's nervous. And of course, that'll only get better with more experience and more playing time. But I don't think in this scenario, when you're 1-0 up in Gaziantep, you're already under pressure. I think you need experience on the pitch. And he took all that experience off. Like all the
creativity, right? All the flair, any capacity we have to actually create a chance was just
But most importantly, I think you need players who, in those last couple of minutes, know to waste time, know how to win time. It's not just about wasting; it's also about winning. And there wasn't anyone left on the pitch with that slyness, with that experience. Rafa was off, Ciro was off. João Mario was off. There was no Musrati in midfield. So, like,
no
you have to look. Yeah. Well, Simi is 19 years old himself. I don't think he would make the right decisions there either, honestly. What did we have? We had 25-year-old Jetson. We had 20-year-old Endur. We had Bakhtiar, who's not composed. We had Masuaku, who's not the most composed in these situations.
And this is actually something that annoyed me about not only the reaction from fans, but even the decision that Gio made to put on Bakhtiar there. Because, like, I actually think Bakhtiar did fine. He played his role. Like, he probably did exactly what he was asked, even. The problem is that he's not the player we needed at that time, right? No. His skill set isn't what that moment called for. And so I think people are kind of, like, heaping criticism on him. And that's uncalled for.
Well, he didn't do. He's the easy, like. Yeah, of course. There's always these easy targets, right? Like I'm seeing more and more alge operations against certain players now. Like Murat Özen yesterday was talking about João Mario, and as if he is the big reason why Simi is not playing, which is bullshit. Because João Mario hasn't started several games in which Semi did not start either.
We've talked about this. Like, it's the fact that he's playing Mucci over Semi should be kind of a conciliatory point for us. That we know he's playing someone who's pretty young, who also needs to develop, who needs playing time, whose value needs to be bumped up, right? Like that Mucci, should put people at ease to some extent. That it's like one of these guys that is worth playing.
Mucci had a decent game against Frankfurt. He deserves to start again. His momentum is on the upswing, so he deserved to start again. Had a decent first half here. Should have scored, I think. There was this one chance where it was one of our best attacks throughout the game, where Ciro sets him up on the left-hand side, and his shot just isn't good enough. He had another half-decent shot from the edge of the area. I think Mucci should have probably scored, but I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on him either. But also, despite the fact that I think Mucci was decent in both these games against Frankfurt and against Gaziantep now, everything screams at you, this is not a winger. He doesn't have that's not him. Like, he's not somebody who's going to dribble past 3 guys or 2 guys or whatever and then put in a decent cross. He'll take on his man, but then he'll usually pass it back to Masuaku. I don't think I've seen him try and swing in a single cross. And that's also one of those differences, like Mustafa Eskielac. I think he was the guy who swung in that cross. We don't have anyone who swings in crosses like that. Rasicka came on late, but I don't want to dog on Rasicka. I think he was very bad against Frankfurt. Didn't do much useful in this game. But we just have a very clear deficiency, a very clear deficiency on the wings. We are essentially playing handicapped wings. Whether Mucci plays or Simi plays or Joao Mario plays, it doesn't matter.
Problem, basically, yeah.
None of them are typical out-and-out wingers with speed, with dribbling, with crossing. The only player who fits the mold of an out-and-out winger is Rasicka, and he's average. So we have a serious deficiency on the wings. And now I feel like people are making it all about Simi now. But I am very sorry to break the news to you guys. Simi has not been good for half a year. Like ever since March, when that whole thing happened with the national team, he hasn't been good. He's been a moment player. He's been Aboubakar light. He's been showing up in moments. He's had brilliant moments, don't get me wrong. I think against Antalya, he had a couple of fantastic moments with that assist to Ciro. Against Samsun, magnificent assist on Rafa. And then, of course, against Eyüp, he wins the penalty. I'm not saying he has been terrible, but Simi has not been good either. Like, he has not been standing out. There's a reason why he hasn't scored yet this season. Serjan Dikme actually tweeted earlier that apparently one of the issues is that Gio thinks Simi doesn't make enough runs. Doesn't make enough runs in behind. And when that was posted in one of our group chats, some people reacted a little bit to that and said, oh, that's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But think about it, guys. Remember this guy we had, Kyle Larin? His nickname was Arka Direct Larin. He played in the same position as Simi does for us. Left winger. Left wing forward. And almost every game, that motherfucker popped up on the far post, and he put away 19 goals in the season we won the league.
Kyle Larin, head too. He did a lot with his head, right? Yeah, we haven't seen. I don't think Semi's had a. I think he may have one goal with his head.
Yeah,
That's
but
not his strength.
More importantly, Sinan, Semi rarely pops up in those positions.
Yeah.
Semi doesn't do it. So when that was tweeted, like, I thought to myself, yeah, you know what? Maybe they're right, because Simi doesn't really make a lot of great runs. We rarely gets on the ball. Like, how many times have we seen Simi go one-on-one with a goalkeeper from a deep pass? And maybe that's also, a while. Yeah, I mean, like, he doesn't, like, and like scoring a goal at the far post doesn't happen too often either. The one I can remember is the one against Kasım Pasha last season in the first half of the season. Other than that, I can't remember one. Look, I'm not trying to tear down Simi. I'm just trying to say maybe there's some valid points there. Do I think that Simi should have not come off the bench yesterday? No, of course, Simi should have always come off the bench. Mustafa Hekimoğlu is not ready for this. Simi is much more ready than Mustafa. He should always come on. Maybe he should be starting. You know, because, I mean, whether or not Simi has flaws, of course, but so do the other players. Rasicka is very flawed. He's mediocre. Joao Mario is not the greatest winger in the world so far for us. Mucci, despite the fact that his form is going up, he's not a winger either. So it's not like we have great alternatives. So that, to me, really signals that Giovanni van Bronckhorst needs to wake up and stop screwing around with this. I fully agree with people who say that Simi should be getting a lot more playing time. However, I don't think yesterday was a Simi problem. Yesterday was
a tactics problem.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's tactics or whether it was legitimately because the team was tired, because that was Gio's excuse after the game.
Yeah, it's a combination of the two for sure. I mean, you could see how tired they were by around like the 65th, 70th minute, I think. Like, and that's where the changes were made, and I think were necessary.
Yeah, but the wrong
problem
changes.
was simply and it was even like, I think it was the second round of subs where it was fully like whoa, because, like, you know, he brought in Mustafa, and I mean, we're up 1-0. if you really believe in him, you think he's your backup striker. Okay, I guess, right? Like he's your only other guy there, so I suppose.
It's not.
But then,
though.
like, I know. I mean, I mean, if that's his thinking, right? But
Yeah.
um,
Right.
I don't. Yeah, the second round of subs where you start seeing, you know, it's clear he's sort of taking out wingers and playing with more like a right mid, left mid, you know, set back. You know, Zainutinov and Masuaku, for example, were kind of interchanging in the back on the left. That was messy. Yeah, like once that move was made, I think it was pretty clear we were kind of playing. You know, we were parking the bus and trying to just close out the game, and it was badly timed. I mean, we talked about this against Thompson, and obviously against Ajax, but that was a different kind of problem, I think.
Different context. Yeah.
Yeah, that's playing 2-6s. This is like two steps beyond that, I think, as far as playing defensively goes.
Yeah, although the Ajax game should have definitely taught him the lesson that sitting back is not something this team is very capable of. And,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, okay, look, Ajax and Gaziantep were different clubs, and maybe he thinks these guys aren't good enough. Like, we can play this. It'll work this time, right? But then hopefully now he's finally learned the lesson. No, like it's not even going to work in that context. Or it's not so much that it doesn't work, it's just that you don't have to do that. And frankly, you're putting yourself in harm's way unnecessarily, right? Because you could very easily have scored the second, probably third and fourth goal at some point because they'd have opened up. By just playing the way you were in the first half and making the subs,
If
positionally.
If your concern as a coach is that your team is running out of steam by the 60th minute or whatever, then you need to make sure the game is in the bag before that. Then you need to press more and work harder to score that second goal. We should have come out of the second half, the first 10-15 minutes, putting a lot of pressure on Gaziantep and looking very actively for that goal. And if you then concede, okay, that can happen. But yeah,
you're almost asking for it the way we
did.
That.
I mean, 100%. I think yesterday is like, could we have won that game? Of course. You know, there's 60 or 90 seconds left on the clock. Of course, you're only seconds removed from 3 points, so we could have easily won it. It's not like Gaziantep had a plethora of chances, but they were overloading that box. You know that ball is going to drop right once or twice. We had gotten lucky a few times, I think, where it didn't quite come off. But the goal itself was a really good goal from them, I thought. Very good team play, but also the fact that they just had a lot of bodies in the box. And yeah, it's you're inviting it. You're leaning back. You have, I mean, there was this picture where on social media, I don't have it here, but like there was like 7 of our players were like in a straight line at the back, and like they are literally putting loads of bodies in the middle there in the box, and like you're putting a lot of people behind the ball, but you're putting them in a straight line. Like, I don't know. And Svensson, I think, is the one that loses the header that leads to the goal, the first ball.
Yeah.
And Svensson again, we said it against was it against
Eintracht.
Ajax? Was it against
Eintracht.
Frankfurt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like back-to-back really bad games for Svensson. And Svensson, for me, is a guy who, since he joined, has been one of the most consistent, best players. Like, he kind of, in that way, reminds me of Atiba. Like, he always gives you like a 7 out of 10, sometimes an 8 or more. But these last 2 games, he hasn't been good. Ever since he came back from his illness, he just hasn't been good. It's like maybe he had COVID or something, and it's still in his body.
Recurring.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Because it's weird that his only 2 bad performances for us have been in a row in his last 2 matches. Like, you wonder if there's something recurring.
Yeah, like in the first 6 minutes or so, I think he made like such a bad start to the game. He recovered, but ultimately, like, I don't want to be pointing too much fingers at individual performances. Like, some players just didn't come off well. I thought Emirhan, when he came on, was great. I thought Felix was great again. Paulista was great until he had to get subbed off due to the injury. I think the center of our defense were good. Our fullbacks, we know that we need depth there. We know that we need tweaks on the wings. And look, at the end of the day, we have made a start, 17 points out of a potential 21 points, and we've played 4 away games already. Like, okay, it's not the end of the world. Galatasaray and Fenerbahce have both lost points as well in a similar way in the 95th minute. So it's not just us who are taking a blow. Galatasaray last week, 3-goal lead they gave away. Fenerbahce a few weeks ago against Göztepe, a 2-goal lead they gave away. For us, this is not as bad, you know. However, I think the difference is, especially, you know, I watched Göztepe the other day against Sivas. Like, if we're gonna be playing this, like those types of games, Göztepe away, those are. I don't see us getting much points there, man. I'm not playing like this, and there's a question that was asked. I don't know if you wanna to add something, Sina. Otherwise, I kind of want to get to some of the comments. If you want to add. Go ahead if you want to add anything, though. But if you don't.
No, I think I had a point, but I don't even remember what it was anymore.
Yeah, sorry, I kept talking for a long time. Well, you know what? Before we get to the comments, let's look at the lineup, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I guess let's dive into some of the formalities here.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what we got here. All right, so I'll start with Gaziantep as I typically do. In their goal, they had. Oh my God! What the heck just happened? Sorry. Sokratis Diodis, 31-year-old Greek goalkeeper. Ahead of him was Bruno Viana, 29-year-old Brazilian central back, next to Enrique Saborit, 32-year-old Spanish central defender. Their left back was Emre Tasdemir, a name people will recognize who follow the Super League. 29-year-old Turk. On the right side, Ertuğrul Ersoy, 27-year-old right back, which is surprising. I thought he was a central defender.
He is a central defender, so, you know.
They're playing, they're doing stuff.
Definitely something we should have exploited more, feels like.
Yeah. If only we had someone on the wing.
You know what the thing is, Sina, you know, I think the funny thing is, I think we really could have done with somebody like Nkudu this season.
I know. There's been so many times I've had that thought. It's so funny.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway,
you know, to be fair, he would probably be out injured, but, you know.
That's true by now, yeah. Maybe, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In the center of their midfield was Kacper Kozlowski, 20-year-old Polish central midfielder next to
international. Called up for the Polish national team.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Good for him. That's a good pickup for them, it looks like.
Yeah, he's on loan, then, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
That makes sense, yeah. And then 33-year-old Senegalese Badou Ndiaye next to him, who's been all around the Super League. It's weird to see him at Gaziantep. Dejan Sorescu, 27-year-old Romanian right midfielder, opposite Christopher Lungoyi, 24-year-old Swiss left midfielder. Didn't know about. We should have asked Aurelian about that guy. Alexandru Maxim, the 34-year-old Romanian, number 10, played behind the fairly effective, I would say, David Okereke, 27-year-old Nigerian striker. I remember he had that one shot that kind of he tried to loop over Mert and then it ended up bouncing over the goal in the first half. That was kind of clever. Anyway, to the main event for us, Mert Gunak in the goal, who played fairly well yesterday, all things considered.
Yeah, good saves, I thought. I mean, not much he could have done about the goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Felix Udokai and Gabriel Paulista on the back. And it's worth noting, so Paulista's injured probably about 3 weeks. Kind of good timing because we're not playing for 2. For all the criticism of our defending, which I think is merited, as you kind of already highlighted, Khan, you can't put that on our central defense. It really seems like we've got that sorted. Because even when Emirhan Topçu came on, he looked really good. And it's worth also noting that he is going to play for the national team. He's with them right now. I mean, we'll see if he plays. That's a whole other thing. But I doubt I'll be logging in to find out, honestly. I need a break. Anyway, where the problem was on defense were our fullbacks, as Khan also spoke to. Arthur Masuaku and Jonas Svensson on opposite side. In our midfield, Cher Endur and Jedson Fernandes. neither of whom had a bad game, although I think both of whom got a little tired by around the 70th minute. And some people were calling for Sally to come on. This might have even been an Onana. This might have called for Onana, but
No, I don't think so.
I know. Probably that's.
But I think definitely we needed, like I said, we needed some experience. We needed some people who were able to keep hold on to the ball. So Sally, would have been a good option.
Alex Oxlade, but he wasn't on the roster yesterday. Chamberlain, sorry, I forgot his actual last name. Man has too many names. Rafa Silva played up ahead of Sharon Jedson with Ernest Mucci on the left side and João Mario on the right. Ciro Immobile started up top. Immobile could have been a little more clinical with his finishing the first half, but as you said, Khan was so effective in helping to set things up. Same thing for Mucci. He could have been a little more clinical as well. I think he had a couple half chances. But he is the guy who set up Rafa Silva on the ball that ended up being the penalty, that Ciro earned. And I mean, Rafa Silva should have put that away too, frankly, before they even had the penalty. It was a lovely ball from Ernest Mucci. So for all the sort of negatives that people want to highlight, there were always positives too, up to a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, the first half definitely wasn't bad, especially away games are almost always going to be tough unless you get helped into the saddle really early. This is not an easy away game. I know some people think that the Super League's a joke and that we should be steamrolling everyone, but that's just not the way it is. And you need to accept that. And this is one of those games I thought in the first half we had a slow start. First 5-6 minutes coincided with Svensson's poor performance poor start to the game, but after that we restored, and I think we were the better team. But second half we weren't playing. Do you want to get to some comments, Sinan?
Yeah, sure. We have a few. It's weird. Did you notice? So on our YouTube live chat, it didn't show up, but there was something from Wander with Ege or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said we were shit. And then it's not showing up, maybe because he used a curse, YouTube
maybe
censored
it got deleted.
It's weird that it made it through.
It showed up on our live feed here.
Exactly, yeah. Thanks for using the dirty language, Ege. Wander with Ege. Mr. Wanderlust over there. Spider Boy. Sorry, that's an inside joke. So yeah, Carlito, good to see you again. Okay, let's go. Yusuf, I really want to hear your guys' opinion on this. Do you think we play the way we did the first month until the first NT break? Regardless of playing well or not, I mean the high press.
Mm-hmm.
I sent a clip from the Lugano game earlier today as an example, so you guys know what I mean.
Yeah, I think he has a good point.
I don't understand the question though, to be 100% honest.
The question is, do you think do you see the difference? Do you think we're still playing like that?
Do you think we're playing now the way we did? Yeah, no way, not at all. And in part, look, Yusuf, first of all, it's an astute point. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I'll say simply that it's also the opposition that we're facing, right? Of course, Ajax, Eintracht Frankfurt, you're going to see a different tactical outlay. But what's perhaps worrisome, and I think maybe you're alluding to, is I feel like you're starting to see that sort of seep into how we're playing against weaker sides. I mean, obviously, against Gaziantep, that kind of conservative way we came out in the second half was uncalled for. But just in general, it feels like we've lost some of that fluidity. And we're still pressing at times. And whenever we have a good half, it's like we're kind of going back to some of those habits that we formed then, like the second half against Kayseri, the first half yesterday. Yeah. You see it in moments. But it's definitely, we're lacking in that consistently, I think you could say.
Do you remember in the Sergen, I felt like we always had that as well. We always played one good half, one bad half. Mm-hmm. And these last two games have kind of been like that. Not counting the Frankfurt one, but the last league games. But I definitely think Yusuf is right in that we aren't playing that type of football at the moment. And I think It's partly probably fatigue, probably also trying to avoid fatigue to an extent. I think it's probably because obviously playing like that requires
High
a
energy.
lot of stamina, and maybe it's a choice that the team is told to not to overdo it. But yeah, I don't know. I think the problem is that we have very little squad depth other than in our midfield. Like I said, the wings, striker, fullbacks, we don't have any depth, and that means that the same players are usually going to have to start, and that's not very good if you want to play like that, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on, Carlito says Mustafa is not a battering ram or can already function as one. Mustafa is not a batter.
Oh,
Mustafa
yeah.
Hekimola is not a battering ram or can already function as one. Or
Yeah,
he isn't able to do that yet. I guess.
He lacks experience. It's that simple.
Yeah, no, we're asking too much of him. Is all it is at this stage of his career.
Some players are ready at 17. Some players aren't. Simi was ready to start making those minutes last season, the beginning of last season. He was ready to get those minutes. He looked better, but don't forget, like the first season half before he started playing regularly under Serdar Topraktepe, Simi was nervous too and overly selfish and going for glory a lot himself. I'm not saying Mustafa is doing that, but I think Mustafa has those same nerves. And sometimes it's also a situation of a player needs to settle, needs to find their feet. And the problem
needs a bit of a confidence boost, right?
Yeah,
this,
of course.
This was my thought. It's not even that he's very far from being ready. It's that he needs to get his feet wet at the right time, right? Like,
yes.
I think if he comes in and we have a 2-goal lead, a 3-goal lead, and he gets the 4th goal, whatever it is, that's the kind of thing that could actually give him the confidence to then be able to come in a scenario like yesterday. But he hasn't gotten there yet. We're kind of skipping that step.
We are putting him in very difficult situations. Ajax away. Now this was a very difficult situation as well. You're not doing the kid any favors with that, I think. It's kind of like sink or swim, and right now he's drowning. And I think that's on Gio. Gio needs to know when a player is ready. And look, he sees him every week in training, and at the end of the day, I don't think you can know for sure if a player is ready, because you can never recreate that scenario. You can never recreate the tension, the pressure of a game like the Ajax away game or a game like this. You cannot create that in training. So, to an extent, Gio has no other choice than to try and see if he's ready. But I hope that Gio has seen now that he isn't, and that he goes for other options. He doesn't have a lot, though. Other than Simi, he doesn't really have any options as a backup striker. And I think, honestly, this coming window, we probably need to get someone. And you know what? I don't want to say it, but I think we should have kept Cenk for another year.
Whoa, hot take.
I was saying it in the summer, man. I think that was a mistake letting him go.
If you want my hottest take, is we should have never let Umut Nair go. He should have just been our third striker for the last 3 years. Anyway, that's a deep cut. So let's keep it moving. Carlito then followed that Mustafa coming up with, I believe it'll be good if Gio adds an offensive assistant to his team. With Van Gestel and with Ruud Hesp as a main assistant, it's quite a defensive team and mindset.
A set-piece coach, that's what we need.
And a set-piece expert. That's a January window issue.
Yeah, maybe we don't even need the player as much as the coach. I don't know. I think if you... Of course, having a real expert is better, but they're becoming more and more rare, Sinan. Like, those real experts, like... In today's football is like all about systems, and Yeah,
And
those.
actually, I will say this, that for all the criticism we've all given João Mario, I noticed that on his corners they had pretty good curve and stuff. He
Yeah,
he
they
might
were
be able to
decent.
find that.
Yeah, I didn't think
Um,
I didn't think Joao Mario was bad yesterday. I thought he was
Me
pretty
neither,
good.
yeah.
Like he was yeah. But the problem is he's one of those players. He's one of the easy targets as well, and it's not helped by guys like Murat Özcan who then send
Bag on him, yeah.
these hot takes in the world where oh, it's because of him that Simi isn't playing. That's only going to those fans that booed last week. That feeds them. That's food for them. That's oil on their fire.
Exactly.
And you're egging those people on. And I know he wants interactions and shit, but I think it's very irresponsible.
And you just never know, as often as we criticize these younger players for spending too much time online and all this and all that, I mean, it's just a reality that some of them do, right? They're very active on social media. Why go out of your way to create a narrative that could theoretically tank someone's confidence just for clicks and attention?
Feels like sabotaging the team if you ask
absolutely.
me. Absolutely.
No, I there's a degree of treachery. It's exactly kind of where I was going with that.
If it's true, okay, but I don't think it is. Like I said, did Joao Mario start against Frankfurt? I don't think he did he?
Nope.
Don't think so. And then did he start? Did he start against Kayseri? I don't think he started.
I don't think so, actually.
I don't think so. No. So like, where is this coming from? That Simi isn't playing because of him?
It's pretty obvious that it was Mucci who took his spot these last two matches.
For the last couple of games, Mucci took his spot, yeah. And
which again, we've talked about that as a highlight, that we have two guys that we want to see play. So if it's not one, at least it's the other.
What I don't understand, Sinan, is like he's been using Rafa on the wings as well. Why don't you try Mucci out behind the striker? Why do you play him on the wing? Why does he need to play on the left? Like, why doesn't he try Simi, Mucci, Rafa, for example? Like yesterday, clearly he agreed with us and everyone else that Rashica didn't have a good game against Frankfurt.
And he put him on the bench. That was a good development.
So that's fine. But then why don't you try out Mucci on the 10, play Rafa out wide, and put Simi on the opposite wing, for example?
I mean, it's tough because I guess you do have to balance, like, who's more important to having that 10-row Mucci. And look, I think there's another aspect too, which is I think he saw what we both did against Eintracht, and maybe he thought Mucci played pretty well against Frankfurt where he was.
Yeah, but I think playing him in his natural position, which is behind the striker more centrally, like if you want to get the most out of Mucci, I thought he was decent in both these games. But I still think you're doing him a disservice by playing him out wide because he's clearly not a winger.
It's not. He's sort of a fish out of water.
Yeah, like he's felt a little bit more comfortable there recently than he did in earlier appearances and earlier cameos. So he's felt a little bit better there now. But I still think that Mucci does not have the talents you need to be a good, effective winger, I think. He's not a particularly great crosser of the ball. He's not super fast. He's not super explosive. What's Mucci's best attribute? His shots, right? From the second line.
Yeah, he has those great shots from distance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and you're far better off getting that from behind the striker than you're from the left wing. So I don't really... understand the insistence. I like the fact that he's using Mucci more now because he wasn't at all in the beginning of the season. But I don't like that it's now alternated with him barely utilizing Simi. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and I mean, look, there's also another aspect to this which is a little harder to talk about, I think, given how good he's been generally, but I think Mucci's performance could have been heightened even on the wing yesterday had Rafa Silva been just a little bit more in form. I noticed a number of times, we'd get those counters and like Mucci would be running up the left side pretty quickly with intent, and he'd pass it into Rafa Silva, who would sort of bungle it up, and he was just having a bit of trouble keeping the ball again. Like, I mean, look, it's just 2 games. right? I don't think it's a crisis or even an issue to discuss.
I think it's a few
but-
games now where Rafa hasn't looked as good as he did in the beginning of the season. But look, this is also something Anna told us, and this is something that we were told about Rafa, that he can run very hot and cold. He's a fantastic player, but sometimes he's just going to go through spells where he's not great.
And you have to wonder about fatigue, right? I mean, the dude is so fast. He's all over the pitch. Like, especially in a scenario like this where we've had 2 midweek matches in a row, 4 games in 2 weeks. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, and, he's going to get tired.
And despite the fact that I don't think he's been very good, he still, every game has those really good moments where he almost scores or really tests the goalkeeper or...
Yeah, he gets into position.
Like against Frankfurt, he had that shot that Cao Lopez or Gomez, what was it? Cao Santos pushed against the bar. And then against was it against Kayseri? Might have been against Eyüp where he had a really good shot as well. And like he's still when you feel like he's maybe not as omnipresent as you want him to be, he still really has good moments. And look, and that's kind of the same
even
thing.
Yesterday, two sort of biggest chances he was very much involved in. So
that's also kind of what I'm criticizing Simi for, though, that he's too much of a moment player. I think Rafa is a little less that. He's also he's also
you can still make use of him, even when he's not.
He makes really smart runs. He does a lot, and he But at the end of the day, I think against Konya, when we come back out of this international break, we are going to have to. I think Gio's going to have to. I don't know if I say cave to the pressure, but I just think he needs to give Semi more time. Like, not just because of the pressure, but also just because of common sense. Like, again, if he had really good options in those positions that were clearly better, then there's nothing you can say, but he doesn't right now. So there's no reason why Simi didn't come off the bench yesterday. No valid reason if he's fit.
Yeah. I mean, we've been lacking creativity. He's the one guy who give him a little space. He's going to make a run.
Yeah, Simi has those moments in him. He can take on a couple of guys with a dribble. He has a good shot. I actually thought yesterday that one chance that Mucci had, that Ciro passed to him, that felt like a Simi position.
Semi moment.
Where I think Simi could have scored. So,
and then that was a little sad Mucci didn't, because he should theoretically be good at it too. But
and that chance Mustafa gets, I don't know.
I don't even want to talk about that. That one just pissed me off.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, first and foremost, I think if Ciro's still on the pitch, I think he puts that away. But I also think if you put Semi on instead of Mustafa, I think Semi scores that.
Yeah, that's an experience. The moment you see your man go down in front of you, right, you've got to just sort of square your body. You've got time, and you have space to operate in. So that's all you need as a striker, or that's all you should need. But yeah, that was sad. Again, that's the confidence, right? Like, someday you hope Mustafa gets there. In fact, you think he probably will, but clearly it's not.
Let's hope so.
Not today.
No. Shall we continue with the comments?
Yeah. There's one more. Sebastian, is that a new name in the comments? I don't think we've seen that before. He says, what do you think about the rumors on Semi that the club will sell him in January, and that is why Gio don't let him play. That's why Gio doesn't play him, to avoid him getting a potential injury. It's a logic. I mean, I remember saying that was maybe why we weren't playing Mucci once upon a time. We must have an offer in, and of course that didn't materialize. I did read recently, right? Like PSG supposedly they were circular. They were coming in, towards the end of the window. There was a recent one about Porto, I think.
Yeah, there was. That was actually about the window that supposedly Porto had a offer for 20 million. Plus bonuses, which was agreed and all that, but then apparently Semi's agent wanted like a 3 million cut or something, so it broke down. I don't know if that's true, but
I don't know either.
I mean,
it's all speculation, right?
I don't think we have the luxury to not play him, even if there is something in place for January. I don't know.
I mean, look, it's all kind of looking for explanations, and if something comes through in the winter, we can look back and maybe it'll, that explains it. Sure,
exactly. So if something materializes in January, then and it might all make sense then. But I kind of feel if that was true, we'd know about it. You know?
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think we'd know about it.
Yeah. I mean, should we look at some stats, Con? We haven't done stats
Let's
yet.
look at the stats.
Some of these will probably surprise people. So we had 58% of the ball to their 42, which shouldn't really surprise. Although we were winning for most of the match. It should, yeah. Actually, no, I think because we were also winning for most of the match, so it's a little weird. We had 13 shots to their 11, but only 3 on target to their 5. They had 4 big chances to our 2. 3 big chances missed on their end to our 1. We completed 383 passes, which is a lot less than we've been completing. You want to see us approaching 500. It seems like if we're really
something.
if we're really operating at our highest level. But at an 83% rate, that's not bad. They only completed 248 passes at a 76% rate, so that's usually pretty good for us. That's usually a good sign. We each committed 14 fouls. They were offsides 4 times. We were only offsides twice. There was some speculation as to whether Rafa Silva was offside on our 1 goal on the penalty, but it wasn't. And in fact, again, he might have put that away, and we avoided the whole penalty to begin with. But it doesn't matter. We scored 4 corners each, so that probably suggests.
Well, you mean that chance in the second half?
No, the penalty. The penalty.
Oh,
shout.
okay. Yeah, no, he wasn't offside on that. There was a they showed a VAR line.
Yeah, exactly.
On the first pass and then on that situation as well.
With the graphic and all, so there's no doubt. Yeah. I mean, who knows? They can probably doctor that if they want to, also, but never happens in our favor. You want me to do duels, Con, or you want to take over?
Go ahead.
So we won the duels battle, 56 to 44%, 50 to 40. As far as the actual number of duels won. Ground duels, we won 56% of them to their 44. We won 40, they won 31. Aerial duels, we won just a little bit more, 10 to their 9.
If we would have won 1 more, Sinan, we would be basking in 3 points right now.
Yeah, I don't know about basking, but certainly, in a much different mode of existence at the moment.
Yeah.
Dribbles, successful dribbles. This was actually a surprise to me. We completed 77% of our dribbles. They only completed 50%. You wouldn't think that we were that effective as far as getting forward and completing passes at the end of dribbles. That you'd think that would have been one of our main deficiencies, but somehow it wasn't. They had 4 yellow cards to our 2. One thing I'll say about this game. And although the second half got different and he started letting them disrupt play and flop around, they were really flopping around like fish out of water for a lot of this game. But for the most part, this ref had a really good game. And it makes me sad that we didn't get the win despite that. There was a point in the first half where I was like, oh, this ref, he's my favorite ref. He really likes us. And I was like, oh, God,
Who said that?
People. I was thinking this. And then, as I was thinking it, I thought, that's such a weird mentality, such a defeatist mentality. Because at the end of the day, the ref was just calling plays correctly. And we've been so skewed by refs in the past that felt like special treatment. Whereas it's just the ref calling plays correctly. But then, by the end of the game, Gaziantep was disrupting the flow of the game by committing fouls and that weren't being called and were flopping all over the place. And I mean, I think it's hard for any ref to control a match once it gets to that level of kind of just insanity, chaos.
I didn't think the ref was bad or anything. I thought he was fine.
He had a good game. It's a shame that we squandered a good ref.
Well, it's at least we didn't lose or lost points because of the ref, because that would have been that's happened so much in the past that I'm happy that's not the case.
You think you have a good ref and then it turns out to be a snake.
I would much rather blame ourselves than blame someone else. And yesterday it was 100% our own fault that we dropped points. So that's a good thing. believe it or not.
No, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, again, it's just a shame that, whenever those few opportunities where we actually have a good ref, you want to, win,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Did you do the cards already? I didn't. I spaced out.
Cards?
Just
The cards?
The yellow cards.
Yeah, I did. 4 and
Okay,
2.
okay. Then I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But so, yeah.
Where did our comments go? Oh, there they are. They're back. Yeah. I mean, I'm a little surprised by those numbers actually, Sinan. I
I know.
thought they would be much less. I feel like those numbers, if you did not watch the game, would suggest we were hard done by losing points. And in reality, I
Yeah.
kind of feel like we deserve to. I feel like Gaziantep did not deserve to lose that game. I thought they got what they deserved in the end, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, it's tough for us because I think we should have won, and stole 3 points. But the numbers would suggest that we should feel really bad about the fact that we didn't win. But I think if we would have won, I think it would have been a case of us being super happy that we did, because
feeling like
didn't
we got away with it.
Yeah, we kind of got away with it. It's also a little worrying as well that we score, but we only scored through a penalty. No goal from open play, no goal from a set piece or whatever. Like, it's a penalty again. I mean, it's good we're getting the penalties when we deserve them. This was I think this was the Beşiktaş fans that were saying a few weeks ago against Eyüp that's not a penalty, the one that Eyüp got. I think yesterday those people were very quiet because it's the same situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a little harsh, if I'm honest. Was it a penalty? Yeah, it's a penalty because he gets the man. But I think Ciro is very smart there. Just like how Tiam, I think it was very smart against us. So, sometimes you get those, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get them again, sometimes you get them for you. Very happy that Ciro converted it again after missing a penalty against Frankfurt, although I didn't have too much doubts there because even against Frankfurt, the penalty he took was good. It takes a good goalkeeper to save a penalty from Ciro, I think. He's on 7 goals now in the league. He's on 7 goals in 7 games. He's the top scorer in the league. At least we're
Hard to
top of
ask for
something,
more.
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
No, look, man, like it's if you want a really nice macro trend from all of this, you look at our XG, right? Lately, it's really on the rise.
Compared to last season.
Well, especially
sure.
compared to last season, right? No, and that's what's so like. You think about when we were kind of shithousing results under Şenol Güneş, right? And we had just terrible XG.
Yeah.
It felt like we were struggling to get any chances, but like Abu would just, find the back of the net from like midfield,
Yeah.
We're still operating at a fairly high level, especially considering where we've come from. We still have yet to be truly humbled in the league. In fact, we've yet to lose. We're undefeated.
Yeah.
There are some blows to our psyche, right, to our morale, with some points we should be getting that we're letting slip through our fingers.
The European results paired with this now definitely doesn't help. The point in top zone against 10 man. At the end of the day, we have 17 points out of a potential 21. And Galatasaray have a match more than us, so they will, have their bye week at some point. If we keep winning, the difference is only 2 points. Our next game, we're finally back home because we had back-to-back away games. That doesn't help either. 2 European matches, 2 away games, 1 really far in Gaziantep. That doesn't really help matters either. The other one was against Kayseri. That's not super far, but that's a decent flight as well. So you're coming, first you go away against Ajax and you go away against Kayseri. That's a significant trip. Then you are at home against Frankfurt, but you have to go to the other side of the country to Gaziantep straight away 3 days later. Look, I don't doubt the fact that fatigue played a part. Definitely it did. And unfortunately, we don't really have the squad depth to handle that 100%. And this new schedule from the UEFA with 8 games instead of 6 doesn't help matters either. We knew this though. We knew this going into the season, and I don't blame the board. I think there's only so much they can do in a single window. I just hope that in January we are still in a good enough position that it makes sense for us to make moves then to make a serious run at the title. Now, coming out of the international break, we are going to have a home game against Konya. That is a must-win. You know, your home games are always must-win, but especially Konya. Konya are in decent form recently, but still, it's a team we have to beat, especially at home. Then we have Lyon away, and then we go to Galatasaray away. And I think if Gio did not learn from Ajax and did not learn from that second half yesterday, look, I don't even want to talk about Lyon for now, because Lyon, for me, it doesn't really matter. Lyon, for me, is not a game where I'm expecting points. Even beforehand, that's the one game I think I said, I think we're losing that one. And I thought we were gonna get 6 points or something against Ajax and Frankfurt. I was very optimistic. So Lyon away for me doesn't even matter as long as we don't get embarrassed or something. But Galatasaray away, very important match. And if we play with... We need to be very intense in that match. We need to go into that game like we did into the Super Cup. If we go into that match with the same mentality as we did it going into the Super Cup, and I think we have a very good chance of getting a good result there. But if we play like we did against Ajax, or we did yesterday's second half, we're just going to lose. And then you're 5 points behind, or 8 points, because they still haven't had their bye. And even though they still have to have that, that 8 points, it's going to sneak into your psyche, and that's going to cost you. So we really have to make sure that our next couple of league games, we don't lose. We need to keep that unbeaten run going. If you draw away at Galatasaray, it's not to the end of the world. Far from it, but we can't let them beat us. And they will be very, very eager to beat us, Sinan, because that 5-0, they will want to rectify. They will want revenge. We cannot give it to them. We cannot allow them to take it. We need to be their party poopers.
But one game at a time, because I think in a weird way, of those, how do I phrase this delicately? I was going to say that in a weird way, the Konyaspor is the most important match of the 3, but of course that's not true. A derby against Galatasaray is going to always be. But you know what I'm saying, though, right?
In a way, if you drop points against Konya, then
right. Then if you drop points against Konya, then it's oh my God, you have to beat Galatasaray convincingly to sort of restore faith.
And against
right?
Konya, there's zero excuse because you've just come off of 2 weeks of rest.
Exactly.
You've had 2
and
weeks
it's at home.
to prepare. Yeah. You're at home. So what I'm really hoping for, a very good atmosphere in the stadium, no bullshit booing, and a good game where we this is very important. I think Gio needs to prep for this. We need to take that game to them, and we need to take distance from them straight away. 2-0 first half, and then just keep going and tank some confidence. And look, Konya is not going to be a walk in the park, but it's home. You have to, man. You have to show what you're made of, and you have to, send a clear sign to the opponents, but also to the fans. Support us. We're worth supporting.
Yeah, and it's worth noting Konya is in 8th place. They've won 3, drawn twice, and lost 3. They have 11 points. It's a pretty decent season for them, considering where they've come from. It seems like they're kind of riding the ship.
They were fighting relegation last season. But of course, in the seasons before that, they were always a good mid-table side. Even in Europe a few times.
Last year was kind of a blip on the radar, right? They had been kind of building on strengths and then took a seat back. And then, it's in a way, it's good that they're kind of reestablishing themselves. You need quality sides in the league. You never want to see kind of where things had gotten these last couple of years. But I actually feel like when you look at like Gaziantep, right? Some of these rosters were coming up against, for all the criticism that Anadolu sides have gotten about, having lost all this quality because of the economy and COVID and this and that. I don't know, man. Like you see some name like Badu and Daye on Gaziantep, like and he was good yesterday. I don't know if you saw, but he had a few moments where he was helping them control the ball, winning the ball back.
Yeah,
turning
Okereke
the ball
was a
quick on the
guy we
counter.
were after not too long ago, not even 12 months ago, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I think some of that stuff, that criticism of the league in general, is a little overblown. I think it's
valid, but it doesn't apply to every team, obviously. And Gaziantep are near the bottom of the table.
I think the biggest thing, though, the biggest factor is more just the amount of money our rivals had been spending these last couple of years, right? I think that accounts for the gap more than the quality. The quality of the league has dropped a little, obviously, as the whole economy in Turkey and frankly, a lot of other facets of the government and society in Turkey in general of late. But I think what probably accounts for it more is just the amount of ridiculous spending our rivals have done. We'll see how that pans out for them, obviously. But I don't know, man. Like there's still so much to play for. This season is not by any means lost.
No, of course not. And that's the problem, right?
The way some people are acting,
it's because they're still within the back of their heads. They're still like, 102 points last season. Sorry, and that spooked. Yeah. Like a lot of fans are like, they think that's gonna happen again. And look, I mean, you have to be honest as well. Like Galatasaray started their season with 22 out of 24, so a near perfect start. So it's understandable that people, and that includes a derby win over Fenerbahce. If they beat us in 4 weeks, God forbid, they'll have had an incredible start to their season.
Yeah, but as you've noted so many times, and it's really important to note, they've had. I mean, Fener is probably their only real challenge in the league thus far.
Yeah, but the problem is,
Sinan, kind of crazy.
The problem is that doesn't really matter because momentum.
No, of course,
is so important.
No, it was set up for them, right?
Yeah,
there was like a runway for them to basically take off from this season. That was just perfectly set up by the scheduling.
Exactly, and. That's also what kind of happened with them last season. They had a 17-game run where they won 17 matches in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And they weren't great last season, the first half of the season, but then they go on this insane run for 17 matches, and it's almost impossible to stop. And it's like a snowball that starts going downhill, snowball effect, And
to paraphrase from you, Con, you just mentioned how we need to sort of. And then this isn't exactly the word you used. You were talking about stockpiling confidence, right? Like against Konya. That's what they're being enabled, right? Like they're able to stockpile confidence to such an extent because, after a rough outing in Europe, they have a nice home fixture against the really weak side.
I mean, they have just had back-to-back home games in their next, and then they I think I highlighted this. They have. Their next 5, this is already, of course, they played already a few of those, but they had a 5-match stretch in the Super League with 4 home games, only 1 away game. Whereas we, on the other hand, we have like 3 away games or 4 away games in that same stretch. So it's like, we are, of course, in the second half of the season going to have a stretch where we don't have, where we're back to back in home games and stuff like that. But it's right now it's in their favor, and the trick is to not let them run away. If you can, we've
got to stay in.
Exactly. If you can stay within striking distance, and then when the schedule later on in the season will be when it favors us more, and we're still in a good position, then you have to hope that they start dropping points and we start gaining on them. They have some difficult games coming up now. They have Samsun at home, but they have Samsun. They have us at home. So, those are still home games, and that's, but they're still tough matches. So you gotta hope that they'll drop some points. Like, look, yesterday against Alanya, they were close to dropping points too. They won 1-0, but it was very tight, and there was a big chance at the end. And the difference is Maxim scores and Alanya didn't score, and that's the difference.
Well, and there's we probably don't need to do this, but apparently they didn't get a red card that they should have, and there was some shenanigans in their favor, as one expects. But anyway,
but that's the details that decide sometimes, and we're talking about that against Frankfurt. But that's also in the Super League, in those games where it's tight. Details decide if a referee or VAR or whatever, or just an opposition play. Like, we had those details in our favor as well yesterday, where they missed some big chances. Like that Okereke chance. It might have been offside. I don't remember, but. Like, he should be putting, whether it's offside or not. Let's say it's not let's say that's not offside, like, and he doesn't score that. Yeah, that's the detail sometimes. And yesterday also a big detail was Svensson doesn't win that header. If Svensson wins that header, or if Masuaku doesn't do the boneheaded cross pass and just tries to keep the ball in the team, maybe that ball doesn't fall in the right position for them. So.
Or if you're gonna just get rid of the ball, dump it out. Give them a goal kick. Kick it all the way upfield. Waste time. Or like that.
Or better yet, a throw in all the way on their end. Something like
exactly.
That. One of the problems yesterday as well was that I think we stopped pressing forward. Like, how many times in that last 15 to 20 minutes did we allow their central defenders to dribble up the field? Yusuf in our WhatsApp group made the comment of that reminded him of the goal Fenerbahce scored against us all those years ago, where Simon Kjaer took the ball up the field and they scored in added time to finish the game 1-1 against us. And I was that same thought was going through my head when I was watching it. We were giving them
attack the ball.
Yeah, attack the ball. And that's one of those things what I don't understand. You put Mustafa Hekimoğlu on, and he isn't. He should be relentlessly pressing and being a nuisance, but he wasn't. So then I think to myself, Simi is very combative. Simi is aggressive. Put Simi in. I think Simi will press. I think Simi will try and win the ball and maybe late.
And it's actually when we're playing on the counter where he can kind of fight and scrap, and he kind of creates those chances where you think he's losing the ball, and then he gets around and he makes a little run, and that allows him to waste time and maybe get the ball in and create a chance for someone else. I mean, those are the things. That's where you want him scrapping.
Exactly.
No, look, and there's the other thing too, which is if you want to close out a game, you close out a game. But this was a situation where whenever we could get a counter going, we'd string maybe two passes together and then lose it. And it just seemed like we had no ability to string passes together. We were so imperfect in that regard. And I think, again, fatigue, right? That was clearly a factor. But so, bring in some fresh legs into that midfield. Give us the ability to hold the ball and to keep the ball a little bit, the passing was so obviously like just passing balls running short because legs were tired, and like, I don't know, it just felt like if you're going to close out a game, that's, keeping Indoor out there was part of the problem, right? You just had guys who were exhausted in very key parts of the pitch. So it is what it is. Let's move on,
think it
shall
was
we?
a poorly managed match by Gio. The mistakes were made. Tactical, personnel. I think just not the best game from the team either in the second half. It's not just Gio, it's also the players. They need to be more aggressive,
Definitely.
Want to win, be more composed. I think that was the biggest issue. Like, when you see there's 60 seconds, there's 90 seconds on the clock, as a team, you need to be able to realize if I hoof the ball up the field, that ball's just going to come back straight away. So what we need to do now is keep the ball in the team, try to win some duels, win some throw-ins, win a corner, waste time, but in a way that they can't punish you. So like, stand at the corner flag or something, I don't know, but something. You need to be mature, you need to be more composed, you need to be better. But the problem is Gio yoinked all that experience off. I think we could have really...
And all the creativity.
I think we could have really used Ciro Immobile's leadership in those last seconds. I think if you have Ciro on the pitch, I don't think it happens. I really don't, because I think he is sly enough. He's an Italian for damn sake. Like, those Italians, they know what, they know, man. Like, there's nothing they're better at than being smart about in this kind of situations. I think you needed that maturity on the pitch. And unless there was like an injury risk, if he was like, because they can see that, they stress test the players. They know, how many minutes a player can play before there's like risk of injury. So maybe that's the case with Ciro, that like if he was only allowed to play 65 minutes or something like that. If he plays 80 or so, there's an increased risk of muscle injury. I don't know. I'm just suggesting something. That's possible. But then I think you don't put in the 17-year-old kids, man. I think that's just such a big mistake. And this is not a criticism on Mustafa. It's a criticism on the scenario of the game. This, like, it wasn't appropriate for the game. Like you said earlier, maybe if you're 2 or 3-0 up, it's different, but not in this scenario. Anyway, I think we've...
Especially not for building of confidence, but yeah.
I think we talked enough about the game now. I think we all feel miserable about it. We've got 2 weeks now of no Beşiktaş. It would have really been nice to go into that 2 weeks with 3 points. Bad football, but 3 points. That's always better than bad football and only 1 point. It's going. This kind of feels like a hangover. I haven't had one in a very long time, but this kind of feels like one. All I can say is, guys, get some distractions, watch some shows. I've been rewatching Stranger Things. I actually hadn't seen season 4 yet, so I'm on that right now, and just get your mind off of it. Don't allow yourself to spiral into that. We can't control this. We're only fans. We can't control any of this. At the end of the day, still a good season start. 17 points. We haven't lost yet. We can only hope that things improve. We need to stay positive. We need to stay behind the team. We are going to lose points. There's no ifs and buts about it. We will drop points. But the only thing we can hope for is that Gio will learn from his mistakes. Sian, before we start completely winding down, I'm just going to announce the winner of our Xbox FC25 giveaway. I already announced it on Twitter a few days ago, so this contest has been closed for a bit now. But the winner is the Hasturk, and this is the comment. And I used www.pickcomment.co to do this. So it was a random pick. So congratulations to the Hasturk. He has already received his codes, but I just wanted to announce it on the show, so people who maybe don't follow our socials are also informed. So congratulations to at the Hasturk for winning his copy of EAFC 25.
25.
Friend of the show, of course, a regular listener and a long-time acquaintance of many of us, Emre Hasturk. So congratulations to you. But again, if you're a long-time listener, you'll recognize Emre. He was the guy who gave us stadium sound back in the day.
He did. So that's a lovely reward that the fates have smiled.
Well, there were only 5 comments, so the chances were pretty big.
Yeah,
exactly. There's 20% chance that he'd win. So, but yeah. Anyway, guys, if you want us to do more stuff like that, giveaways like that, go to patreon.com/BeşiktaşPodcast. Support us, become a Patreon member, and we will use the money we earn from that for fun things in the future, fun projects. So, and also, of course, for buying hardware, whatever, whatever we need money for in the future. But if you want to support us other than watching, first and foremost, if you don't want to go to Patreon, always drop a like. A comment is also much appreciated. And hit that notification bell. But if you want to do a little bit more, you can actually sponsor us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month or €2 if you're in the European Union. I think if you're in the UK, it's £2. I set it to $1.99, but it automatically adjusts to every region. So if you're like in the UK, you pay £2. If you're in Sweden, you actually pay 25 kroners. I've noticed, because we've got a couple of Swedish Patreons. So it differs a little bit, but it's roughly around the $2 mark. So for $2 a month, that's less than a cup of coffee is going for nowadays. And if you listen to us regularly, I'm sure that that's not something you'll miss. But if it is, of course, no problem. But you can try it for free for 7 days. We have our VIP audio podcast that is weekly. On top of that, we also drop our videos from YouTube early on there, so you get early access. So there are added benefits to becoming a Patreon member other than supporting us. Other than that, it's 2 weeks without Beşiktaş now, Sinan. We can, of course, watch the national team, but I think it's going to be a little bit of recovering from this now. Did we go into the last international break with was it the Trabzon game? I don't even remember. Did we go into the last?
Let me tell you.
No,
it was Sivas. We beat Sivas
okay.
and went into the break.
It feels like I just felt like every time you're going into an international break where you're like, okay, we need to win this. We can go into the international break on a high.
Feel better.
I feel like that's been a long time, but I guess it hasn't. And just selective memory. You only remember the bad things.
Yeah, that was all year last year for sure.
For damn.
All right, my closeout statement. Look, first of all, I was trying to show this earlier, but 'tis the season. I don't think dual loyalties and conflicts of interest. We have a lot of supposed Arsenal fans, but pick a new sport. Hell of a time to join the Knicks bandwagon, folks. Season's just starting. Great time to forget. Honestly, here's the thing. I don't think I'm going to watch the NT because when we have sort of results like this, even thinking about football, I'm such a Beşiktaş only fan that any thoughts of football bring me back to Beşiktaş.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to think about football for a couple of weeks. Luckily, my daughter has a bye week this week. So yeah, we're going to chill out on practice. But so yeah, hell of a time to jump on the Knicks bandwagon. Just saying. But beyond that,
do you want to really do that to the people, man? Do you want them to follow another sports team that I think
break their hearts?
I honestly think that one sports team in your life is enough, man. I think you need other things other than sports, because otherwise, sports is constant. It's a yo-yo, man. Like, sports is like, you get these highs, which are great, but you also get a lot of lows. So I think it's very important to have hobbies in life where you can't get disappointed in. You can get disappointed in it, but a book series or something, or
hey, I'm as a would-be writer, but I would never dissuade that.
When is that book coming out, Sinan?
It's happening. I'm really getting good progress lately. But no, one thing that's nice about basketball, I will say, is that because they play so often, there's this constant okay, we'll win next time. It's hard to get too down. Once you get to the playoffs, that's a whole other issue. But I fully agree, Con. Sports alone should not be your safe space or whatever you call it. Yeah, you definitely need get into some games, get into some TV shows, get into some books for sure. Some epic fantasy series, no doubt. Get loose. Forget about football for a couple of weeks. This is your chance to broaden your horizons, become a more complete human being, a Renaissance man.
Yeah, man. If there's anything,
or woman,
I'll be 36 at the end of the month now, and if there's anything I've learned in my years, when I was a kid, still Beşiktaş is obviously very important to me. You and me both,
obviously, what
we do and how much time and effort and all that we put into it. But what I've really learned over the last 20 years or so and especially the last 10 years since I've become a dad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's very important to have other things in your life. Because I know
you need an outlet, folks.
You
need
do.
An outlet.
I have noticed with a lot of our younger friends who are now when we met them, they were teenagers. That sounds so wrong, but I was in my 20s.
We were younger too.
I was in my 20s. They were
exactly.
but now they're 25 and I'm 35. And I notice a lot with these guys is I think they don't have a lot of hobbies outside of football. I think it's very important to have at least one other hobby, like one thing you really love. And whether it is like gaming, and not, I don't mean like playing FIFA, because then you're back in that
that's
football.
the same
So like
routine,
whether you like to play like I don't know, like Hogwarts Legacy or Zelda, or I don't know, something you can get lost in, or you really like TV shows, or you really like, I don't know, but like you're really into it. Like you have to be really into it, not just like, oh, I enjoy The Walking Dead. No, you have to be like into it, like really.
Yeah, you need to be like researching the lore.
You have to
looking up like who is that
you
character?
have to be like low key
done?
obsessed into it. So then it makes it a lot easier after a match like yesterday to drown yourself into something else you're really into.
Exactly.
You need to be able to do that. And I think, there can also be spending time with your family, of course. Like I'm not saying you have to spend more time away, but if you're a young person and you don't have a kid yet, you don't have a wife yet, or maybe you have a wife, but like it's good to have other things. Don't let football be the only thing. That doesn't mean you care less. It just means that you're able to detach yourself during those moments where otherwise you're now you don't want to be moping around the house for 2 weeks because of a football game that you didn't play in. That you had zero control over the outcome. So you need to have something else. That's just a life lesson I want to give everyone.
It doesn't mean you care less, but it does mean you're probably a more well-rounded human being, which, work on that, folks. Always. Mental Health Awareness Month. Is it that? I don't know if we're there. Maybe that was last month. Either way, be in it. Do it. Consider it. Anyway, on that note, and I think this is probably, at a time like this, the most important thing that can be said. Well, I guess no. First of all, we're playing next Sunday, October 20th, here in New York. That's 9 a.m. So it's the early match. I'll be having my coffee with Beşiktaş. But besides that, and again, at a time like this, it's so important to say, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody. See you next time. All right.
Bobo girdi. Bobo